giving you a fantastic presentation on how to save money by decoding workers' compensation. Take it away, Brad.
Thank you very much. Today we're going to talk about decoding workers' compensation insurance, and we have 10 takeaways that we want to talk about today. Based on historical Bureau data, identify which workers' compensation class codes will project a higher loss ratio to help you direct your risk management team. We're going to talk about gaining an understanding that not all workers' compensation class codes perform the same in each state. Learn why you should not price a workers' compensation class code the same in each state. Gain insight on the hidden dangers within my workers' compensation class codes. Identify which workers' compensation class codes by state have a higher propensity to cause a shock loss and cause a big one. If you're looking to expand your business, learn which states have the most favorable workers' compensation environments. We want to talk about what is rate inadequacy and how does this affect how you should price your business. Are you covering your insurance costs and charging your clients correctly? What industries should my sales team focus on? And learn how to turn your workers' compensation into a profit center. What we've been able to do is actually, if you take a look at, we have industry loss ratios, propensity for excess loss. And in this column, if you look at any codes that are in green, that's a 65% loss ratio and lower, where carriers will make money. Anything between a 65 and 80% loss ratio is going to be in yellow, and anything in a red is going to be above an 80% loss ratio. When we look at propensity for excess loss, you're going to have a negative 5%, and lower is going to be in green. Anything between a negative 5% and a positive 5 is going to be in yellow, and anything that has over a 5% propensity is going to be in red. What that means from a propensity to cause excess loss is the reinsurance layer in a class code that could pierce a $250,000 claim to $10 million. So in this section, it's going to tell you in Georgia, class code 8826, statistically has a 47% loss ratio and a negative 19% propensity for excess loss. And what this allows us to do is, by taking this information, show our clients in each state what each class code will be by client. So we have in Maryland, 8826 is going to be 110% loss ratio and a negative 13% propensity for excess loss. And as you kind of go through, you can kind of see where we want to spend some time on what are we doing in Kansas. Class code 4239 has got a 921% expected loss ratio. This data is coming from NCCI, from WCRB, Pennsylvania, all the different bureaus, so it's the true statistical data that is in the comp system. Again, another example is bowling centers. Bowling centers in Virginia, Florida, and Texas. If you had your sales team going after, you can see that in Texas, it's going to project a 33% loss ratio. In Florida, an 87%. But in Virginia, it's a 230%. And what we want to focus on here is that if your salesperson came in and actually said, hey, we've got this, this prospect, how do we want to price this up? If you charged your normal markup in each state, Virginia actually has the lowest manual rate out of all 3 states. So at $1.90 versus $2.42 in Florida, if you priced it the same, you're actually going to lose in Virginia every time. And again, just like a stock portfolio, in each client company's individual stock, you can't just look at one indicator. So we look at industry loss ratio or frequency. We look at severity, propensity for excess loss, and then we're going to look at jurisdiction, the states that they're doing business in. This is basically the propensity for excess loss. This is a tool that will take every class code in every state and actually benchmark it against all losses and all payroll and premium in a state. And this is really showing you that in Michigan, class code 8869 has a negative 38% propensity to cause an excess loss, again, over 250 to 10 million. And as you kind of go through, it's a nice time to sit down with a client and show them, what are we doing here? We've got potentially some class codes on here. Contractors in Michigan have a 25% higher propensity to cause that excess loss. Is this truly what are our employees doing within this job code? Is this a good business decision to keep on my policy, and especially for those that are on a loss-sensitive deal? This might be something you want to put on a guaranteed cost policy or put it into a state fund. This just is a tool, we call it our risk profile, and again, we'll give you a snapshot of all, after you take all your payroll, your class codes, your clients, and now you have a good snapshot to take a look at what does my book look like, from annual wages, the manual mix rate, manual premium in each state. We'll show you what your forecasted loss ratio will be based on Bureau statistics, forecasted loss ratio, the claims count per million, and propensity for excess cost. As you start to get into the SIC groups and we break it down to NAICS, we now start to benchmark and allow you to focus on a 364% expected loss ratio in the manufacturing, propensity for excess loss. And we benchmark you against our program of 250 PEOs and staffing accounts, and then against the Bureau statistics. So now you have some benchmarks to see where you're falling in within the groupings. When we start to say looking to expand your business, learn which states have the most favorable workers' compensation environment, we've gone ahead and we've ranked each state on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the best, 5 being the worst from a comp market. We show the return on equity for the carriers in these states. Carriers want to make between a 13 and 50% return on equity in each state. So as you can kind of go through and see, we have in Alabama, you're at a 21%. However, as you start to go down into states like California, to know this information up front, if you're looking to expand, you're going to see that California, based on 2010 equity numbers, was actually at a 6.4%. In Illinois, which is ranked as a 5 also, you're at a 4.3%. And 2011 numbers, actually in California, it's a negative return on equity. So if you're looking to expand, you're probably in that case, if you're going into Illinois, you're going into California, you're not going to get credits. Potentially also, you're going to be looking at a mix that if you're going to market, you might want to potentially cull some of that business off of your books if it's not profitable, or put it into a state fund to really be able to get a good, solid book for your carrier partners. And again, it kind of starts to show where's your concentration. If you're headquartered in Florida, for argument's sake, how are you able to manage that much business in Missouri? How are you able to manage that type of business in Iowa? This kind of just breaks up a little bit more and gets you a little bit more in depth of what's going on in each state. Alabama is, again, ranked as a 1. It's a green state. Return on equity is positive at 21%. The loss ratio in 2011 was 23%. 5-year loss ratio of 58, and you can kind of get a little bit more idea of what's going on. In addition, we have a comment, so if in Illinois, for argument's sake, it shows you that the total, the disability rate would be $1,293. So that's kind of gives you a little bit more color onto why a state is either positive or negative, green or not. We'll talk quickly about rate adequacy, which is the expected ultimate developed loss ratio at a current published manual rate. This tool takes our, basically we call it the Barnstable Vintage, which has had 6 actuaries go ahead and sign off on this, on our index from severity, frequency, and jurisdiction. We then will be able to show you the rate adequacy and the expected loss ratio at manual premium. So what this means is, in Florida, class code 5190 has an expected loss ratio of 53% at the manual published rate of $5.65. So if I charge $5.65 to my client, I can expect, based on Bureau statistical data, that we're going to have a 53% loss ratio. If you want to write your entire book to a 65% loss ratio overall, then you can actually discount that manual rate to $4.64 and still maintain a 65% loss ratio. If we go to our example that we talked about, the bowling centers, where in Virginia we were at a 230% loss ratio, rate adequacy table says that at manual rates, I'm going to have a 194% loss ratio if I charge my client manual rates. So I actually can't charge manual. I need to charge at least, instead of $1.78, I need to charge $5.33 to maintain a 65% loss ratio. And that's really a great sales tool to kind of show your sales team that you can't just bring in a prospect and expect to get the same pricing across the board. This is really what's going to show them that each state performs differently. Each class code needs to be priced on its own merit. There we go. Again, going into how does this affect how you should price, as we talked about, going through in the hotels in Texas and in Maryland. In Texas, you're at a 34% loss ratio. In Maryland, it's an expected 434%. So again, you need a charge in Texas. You can actually decrease that $2.95 manual rate down to $1.62. But that $2.19 manual rate in Maryland, because of the loss ratio, you need to charge almost $12. So again, making sure that for those that are going to be on a loss-sensitive deal, this type of pricing model is very, very important. We wanted to quickly cover just, are you covering your insurance costs and charging your clients correctly? This is the basic algorithm from manual premium, increased limits, goes through experience mods, any potential debits or credits, drug-free credits. And at the end of the day, after you have manual premium, you get an estimated annual after all the debits and credits, and we get what we call a fund rate. And you take that fund rate of 115% and make sure that you're charging that against manual rates to go ahead and figure out that you're what the carrier is going to collect. Too many times we walk into a client and they're charging a flat fee across the board. So we just want to make sure that they know exactly what their true cost is. And if you can charge higher than that 115 fund rate, then our clients are making money on workers' compensation insurance. The more that we work to get down your experience mod, safety, and get this fund rate down, again, our clients will make more money. We've been able to take all of our analytics and actually show our clients the top 10 performing class codes based on bureau loss ratios. So this is something that I can give to our sales team and say, all right, let's focus on these class codes. We can make it state specific if we want. We can do it on a national basis. But these are codes that actually have a lot of payroll out there in the marketplace. And again, we then can provide the top 10 worst performing class codes that we want to keep you away from. And again, as we kind of talk, sums up that this is how, by going through these type of models, knowing this up front when you bring on a new client and having this data versus on the tail end, you can focus your risk management team on those codes. We can show you how to price business properly, or at least give you guidance. And hopefully if anyone has any questions, that's our presentation. So, thank you.